Okay, my little troublemaker plane here, the Eachine Mini Wing Dragon, has my old WL Toys F949 brick installed in it. I replaced the 1020 motor because the stock one would no longer spin up. I took a King Kong L-Dark 65mm ABS two-blade prop. It only had a 1mm hub on it and it was capped. It's not a pusher prop. It had a plastic cap on it. So I took a 1mm drill bit, drilled it all the way through the cap, and then honed it out a little bit so I could get it installed on this motor. So the only thing that's stock in this now as far as the electronics is the aileron servo. So let's take our Radiomaster TX16S out and test this plane now with the new brick in it, and this is manual mode only, there is no gyro on it. I will see you out of the field. Okay, I'm back out here with the Eachine Mini Wing Dragon. This is going to be a remaiden. Now that it's all manual mode, new motor and prop. Alright, let's get it near. Got about a 3 to 4 mile an hour wind out here this morning. I launched it at 60% throttle with just a light chuck. Yeah, I got to throttle back. That is pushing it pretty good. Alright, so I've got it at about 50% throttle right now. Coming into the wind. Seems, now that I've got it in manual mode and I can test the balance, it does seem a little tail heavy to me. But it's handling really well. I haven't got it, tuned in or anything yet. I had to put in a little bit of sub trim in the ailerons to get those squared up. Coming into the wind right now. That's a slow flying plane, and I think it likes to fly slow. Look at that. Pretty slow, even without a gyro system. Alright, so we'll see if the hard work on this was worth it, We'll see if this brick and motor hold up on it. And after I've got my timer set for 5 minutes, so we'll check the voltage in it after a 5-minute flight of cruising around and see how much we've depleted. If I get 5-minute flight out of it, I think that will be the first time. I think that will be the first time I have gotten a full flight out of it. So we'll see. Pretty slick though. Putting in rudder, a little bit of aileron for the turn there. And this is 3 to 4 mile an hour wind, and I don't, it's getting pushed around a little bit because it's so light and it's got so much lift. So I would say
you know, their recommendation of 0 to 8 kilometers per hour, I don't think I would, you know, I don't think that you want to fly it more than, oh, I don't know if I pulled the throttle back too far. Let's get it back in the air and see. Yeah, I think I just pulled back on the throttle too far. Alright. Kind of had me worried there for a minute. But yeah, you can see it getting pushed around by the wind, and this is just a 3 to 4 mile an hour wind. Oh, it's cutting out on me again. Alright, let's see how much juice we've got in the battery. I've had it up in the air for about 4 minutes. Check the motor. Yeah, the motor's just warm. The motor's not hot at all. Huh. I've got 4.098 volts, 4.1 volts in it. So I'm not sure why the motor's shutting down. Alright, well, let's put another battery pack in it and see. Let's get it back in the air again. Alright, so I launched it at 50% throttle that time. Come down, come down. It is a floater. Now what I may do is put the one of the Eachine mini bricks in it, just to have that gyro if I want it to fly in some wind, and since it also has full manual mode, and it may have a larger capacity ESC on it, because I know the F22 Mini uses a 1020 motor with a direct drive 2.5 inch prop. Look at that, how slow. 2.5 inch prop, it's a bullnose prop, so the only question on this one is, can the ESC that's on this board handle this motor and prop? As I know the motor can definitely handle, you know, spinning that 65mm prop, and check that out. Not handling too bad in 3 to 4 mile an hour wind in manual mode. Does need a little bit of rudder and turns. If it was completely calm out here, I think you'd be able to cruise around at about 40% throttle. I'm keeping it at about 50%. Just because I got a little bit of wind out here. But you can see, doesn't it look a little tail heavy? I think it does. I've got some down trim in it right now to keep it from climbing, but I think that it's definitely a little, bit tail heavy. But fun little plane now that it's handling well. Like I get the balance fine tuned on it. I've got to get my rates and expo fine tuned on it, but not too shabby. I think it's going to be an excellent flying plane now. What do you think? Isn't that cool?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Timer 1 elapsed.
Okay, timer 1 elapsed. So I've had it in the air for 5 minutes. Let's bring it back around and land it and see how much voltage we have in the cell. Look at that float. Nice! Isn't that cool? Alright, I think I'm going to be very happy with this now. Okay, so let's check the voltage in the cell real quick. Just to see. Hang with me real quick. There we go. I still have 4.1. Can you guys see this? 4.098 volts after 5 minute, let me see, 5 minute and 16 seconds of flight. Can you believe that? All right, I'll see you back at the HQ.
Okay, well that went well. The plane handled better than I expected in manual mode. As a matter of fact, once you get used to the controls on this thing in manual mode, I think if someone was watching the flight and didn't know better, they would think that the gyro brick was still in it. So it's extremely stable in manual mode. It was a bit tail heavy. Unfortunately, I forgot to take my dime out to the field with me, so I didn't have any counterweight to put underneath the nose. So I had to compensate with some down trim in the elevator to keep it from hanging its tail down all the time. And even after doing that, when I was flying close by, trying to fly straight and level, you could see that the tail was dropped on it. So it is a little bit tail heavy. That seems to be, 90% of the time anymore with these factory planes. They seem to be tail heavy. I don't know why that is. But anyway, next time I take it out, I will put a dime underneath the nose and we will see. I think that's going to fix it. I think about 2 grams, 2 to 2.25 grams on the nose, I think is going to solve that issue. The 1020 motor and the 65mm prop pushed it very well. As a matter of fact, most of the time I was having to throttle back to about 40%, 45% throttle to keep from climbing with it. It is not an aerobatic plane. I tried some loops and rolls with it. It is not an aerobatic plane. It is a cruiser, at least with this power system. So I did have an anomaly, and you saw it in the first flight, maybe the second. I think it was the second flight because the camera battery ran out on the first flight. But I had an anomaly on this, and maybe you guys who are more knowledgeable about these brushed receiver bricks may know what's going on with this. Maybe you've seen it or heard it before. But what was really weird was in that first flight where both times I lost power, the motor didn't shut down. It was almost like a brushless speed controller, when you get down to 3.2 volts where it reduces power. So both times that happened, and I just glided it down and landed it. But when I walked up to it and gave it throttle again, I had full power again. So I just picked it up and threw it back in the air. And it did that to me twice, where I actually glided it and landed it, and then tested the throttle and had full power again. So, and you guys saw the second flight. The second flight completed 5 minutes and 13 seconds in the air without a single issue. Still had almost 4.1 volts in the battery after a 5 minute, 13 second flight. So the amp draw on this is very low with this motor and prop. It wouldn't be landing with almost 4.1 volts left in the battery if this motor and prop were drawing any amperage. So I don't believe that just cruising around with this motor and prop, it's going to be pulling over 2 amps. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had almost 4.1 volts left in the battery. So I don't think this is a battery issue. I don't think it is a motor and prop issue. I don't think it is voltage sag on the LiPo, and I don't think it's amp draw on the motor and the prop. Now, I could be wrong, but looking at the voltage that was still in the battery tells me otherwise. So what I found was that I had it in the air, and it wouldn't happen every flight. That was what was really strange about it. It was really sporadic. But when it did happen, it would happen frequently when I was in a flight. And what I found was that if it started losing power and I dropped the throttle stick all the way down to 0 and then pushed the throttle back up, I had full power again. I would fly it around for about another minute. It would drop power, drop the throttle all the way to 0, push it back up, and I had full throttle again, full power again. So I don't know if that's a glitch, if this particular board has a bad speed controller that's causing this, or is it a bug in the protocol for this brick. I don't know. You know, I've never used this brick before with a hobby grade transmitter, but maybe somebody out there knows. If you do, please post a solution here. Let us know what you think is going on. Other than that, it flew great. It was an annoyance on some flights. On some flights, it never happened at all. I had my timer set for 5 minutes. I flew the full 5 minutes. It flew perfectly. It didn't have a single power issue. I would throw it in the air the next time, and all of a sudden I would get this drop in power after about a minute of flight. Drop the stick, the throttle stick, push it back up. Everything's fine and dandy again. It's in the air the whole time. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it did get quite annoying after a while. So anyway, that's where I am with this project. I don't know, maybe you want to look at a different receiver brick than the F949. If this is a known issue with that brick, I don't know. But everything seemed to work fine except for that issue. So anyway, that's where I am with it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.